You're welcome to the Abeko Conversation. I am Nkiri Obi, and today we have an interesting topic to talk about. But before we do that, let's go on a short break. You're welcome back to the Abeko Conversation, and I am Nkiri Obi, and today I have with me Mr. Ben Apute. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, NK.
Yeah. So please, could you kindly tell us more about yourself?
All right. So I think this is one question really that I struggle with a lot of times when people ask me to tell them about myself, essentially because I have so many expressions, and in my head I'm always wondering, where do I start from? But to keep it simple, I write, I speak, I'm an author, I'm a public speaker. I do a lot around organization culture transformation. I also have a knack a lot around continuous improvement for organizations. As a matter of fact, I'm a Kaizen Institute certified continuous improvement coach. And I also do a lot around corporate branding, corporate communications. Of course, I love organization leadership. So those are my areas of interest. And I think my newly found love now is nation building. So I also do a lot of study around that as well.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so today we're talking about 10 tips to woo a lady. Now you laughed, and I know that it's something you're going to be trying to.
Let me adjust my seats, my sitting position.
Okay, okay. So first and foremost, I know you're a married man, and I know that it's beautiful to be married, especially if you got married to the person that you love so much. Could you tell us a little bit about how you moved your lady?
So are we going right into it right away?
Of course.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
so I think first off, I'm going to approach it from a different perspective. A lot of times when we talk about winning a lady, you're talking communications, and communications is what I do. So I'm going to approach it from the standpoint of communications and how it benefits people generally beyond just relationship, even in business, in career, in your day-to-day engagements. How do you need to learn communication essentially. I once did a course titled Learning How to Learn. So let's say this is a master class on learning how to communicate beyond what you learn within the four walls of
let me dish it down. So are you saying you thought about all these things before you wooed your lady?
Yeah. So you have to, because communication is intentional, right? Okay. So the first thing you want to start with is to begin to ask yourself, why do I want to talk to this person, for instance? Okay. Because communication is also in phases, right? There are people you've never met before. You don't have any established acquaintance with them before. The way you engage them is different from people who you probably are within a circle, an ecosystem. You guys are saying you might not be talking so much, you might not be very close, but you already have some form of relationship you want to leverage on. So how you approach it is different. So this is how I would put it. First off is to ask yourself, why do I want to talk to this person? So, okay, interestingly, let me tell you a funny story. Okay. So I was in school. When I was in school, it was when at that time I was contesting for a position in school, one of the student representatives. And you know how it is, you go from one class to the other canvassing for votes and things like that. I mean, it's election period, so you can relate. So I went into this class, and they were my junior really. And I got on the podium, you know how it is, great Nigerian students, great and things like that. And I have never, ever experienced that in my life. Right in the middle of the class, my eyes caught a beautiful lady. Okay. Do you know what I did? For the first time, I've never seen myself act that way. I left the podium. I was addressing the students. I came down from the podium and walked directly to her. And this was someone who was in another bit of conversation with her friends. And she had no clue what was happening. I got there, and you can imagine breaking a conversation between a bevy of girls, right? Wow. And you just walked up to her and say, hey, I want to talk to you.
And the ladies will be thinking, how disrespectful.
But that's where the communication skill came in. That didn't happen.
What?
Yeah, and I got a number, we spoke, but I didn't see her for the next 2 weeks. So I told my roommate, Sherry, if you're watching, and I said, Sherry, I think I've run into a ghost. I met a lady, and for 2 weeks, I've not seen her in school. I think about the 3rd or 4th week, so I saw her. Apparently, she traveled right after I saw her and things like that. But just coming back to what we're trying to talk about, communication is very intentional. You just want to start with the first tip for me. It's why do I want to talk to this person? Once that is settled, it then begins to shape the strategy for you to. It's like in business as well. When you meet people, why do you want to talk to people? I met the likes of the CEO of Boa Groups, right? Rabiu Suleiman. I've met the likes of, the APC candidate for River State, Tonye Cole, just to mention a few guys like that. These were people who are much more, they are much more older, but the strategy in communicating, it's different because first you need to be clear as to why. Once you are clear as to why, the next thing then becomes the fact that you must communicate humbly. It's pretty much very important. I've seen a lot of cases where ladies they really get pissed off because somebody is trying to woo them and you've not met this person before and you're talking to this person like you've met. I don't know if you have that kind of experience before.
Like recently, I had this experience whereby I was feeling a little bit of discomfort and I was walking down my street, okay? Now, I met this young man. He's a young, handsome, potential man, a good-looking man. And he was in his car, driving his car, and he was like, "Excuse me, lady." Now, I'm not disrespectful, but sometimes I just actually love to listen to people so I could, know what they're up to. And he was like, "What is your name?" I felt, you don't know me, and you're just asking me straight up, "What is your name?" Okay, I said, "Okay, let me not look as if I'm not polite." So I told him my name, and he was like, "Can you give me your number?"
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Nigeria men don't have cheese. You just go straight to the point.
Can you give me your number? I felt like you can't even say something to captivate me, to make me feel comfortable with myself and you're just going to, what if you're a kidnapper? No, you think about it.
It's the hardship in the economy. People are, they're always wasting time.
I'm just playing this particular scenario because sometimes for some guys, they feel like, okay, just going all out for the lady is actually the best way. It makes it, it actually gives that representation to that particular lady.
So I think that's what brings about brings credence to the conversation we're trying to have. Yeah. People basically understanding how to engage people. So the first thing is, I'm going to create 3 scenarios. Then I would express how I think it's the best strategy to go. So take for instance the scenario you just given. You're meeting a lady, you've never met this person before, you don't know this person from anywhere, and you guys probably just popped into each other. The first thing you want to do is to really understand the circumstances around that lady at that moment. She's walking probably under the hot sun and things like that. You want to offer a ride. Good enough you are in a car. Whether the lady is going your way or not, you want to offer a ride. That's the first thing to do. I was once traveling and I bumped into, so at the airport I checked in, I went through the scanner. Then by the time I was picking my stuff, I looked around the lounge and I saw a beautiful lady and I just said to myself, I'm going to talk to her. But between leaving the scanning machine and getting to her seat, I sort of scanned her environment and tried to understand what's happening to her. She looked very frustrated. It looked like someone who has been there since morning. So her flight has been delayed time and time over. So when I walked there, the first thing, I didn't even put on my shoes. I had my shoes with me in my hand. I had my carry-on luggage and I walked straight to her and I said, "It seemed like you've been here for ages." She just went, "You don't want to know." That was how the conversation started. Okay. You see where I started from? Something of interest to her, something that is happening around her. So the same thing you want to do with a lady. I had another scenario where I was traveling from Apute to Lagos. Okay. I got into a vehicle, was seated in the bus, and there was this young lady I wanted to talk to. So in my head, I was doing all the whole scanning and everything. Again, you look for cues. And somehow my eyes went into, her bag was a little open, and I saw her card. So she's actually a youth corps member. And I saw that date was her birthday. Okay. So I saw it on the card. So I just kept quiet. So after a while into the trip, I just said, "Happy birthday." Oh. So you can imagine, she wanted to know how on earth I knew that was her birthday. But that was a catch for me. I didn't tell her until we got to until we got to Lagos. But of course, that enabled me to engage in very intense conversation with her, got her contact, and all. So you want to start off that way, especially when you've not met the lady before. And in doing that, you must be really interesting in your conversation. You want to be very interesting. You don't want to make the conversation about yourself. So if I meet a lady, for instance, for the first time, you don't go stretching your hand out to shake a lady. ethically, I think it's even wrong. So you want to talk to her, hey, hi, good afternoon. My name is Ben. What would you like me to call you? You see what I've done? I've switched the conversation from me to you.
Yeah.
So if I ask you, oh, hi, Ben. Hi, my name is Ben. What would you like me to call you?
No.
The moment you mention your name, you go, oh, really? I see you, someone who like fashion. Are you fashion forward? Yeah. Okay. So what kind of books do you read? You see, you begin to look for areas of common interest. Then that becomes the platform for which you want to engage them. But to do that, you also have to be someone who is widely read. So you must have studied a lot. Read books, read things outside of your normal curriculum.
Because now the typical average Nigerian man right now will be thinking, so guy, you won't make us start today.
No, you have to read. No, that's how you come across very interesting. Do you know why? Okay, so let me paint a scenario. You are on a plane traveling from Africa to Europe, and you meet an Anglophone lady. Her mom is from Angola, her dad is from France. So where are you going to start from?
Ooh, yeah, that's
so if you don't have any common ground around maybe her culture, her origin, it becomes very difficult. So there must be a common ground. And to have that common ground, you must be someone who reads a lot, right? So that you then spread your tentacles. It's easy for you to connect. So if the person is someone who loves sports, you have something to say. If the person loves football or politics, you have something to say. If the person loves fashion, if the person loves entertainment, you have something to say. If you are narrow-minded, the challenge is when you meet someone who is probably much more read than you are, you'll be intimidated and you won't be able to hold up a very meaningful conversation with the person. So first off, again, just going back so that we don't get it all mixed up. First off, you want to understand that the essence of this engagement is beyond just communication for relationships, it's also communication for betterment of yourself, your career and productivity. That's one. Secondly, when you meet people for the first time, you want to look for common interests. You want to connect them and make the conversation about them and not about yourself. The second one I will talk about is ensure that in your conversation, you're looking for means to add value to the person. Tell me who doesn't want to get value. So if I'm meeting a lady and in my first few minutes of conversation, she sees me as someone she can learn from, she's probably going to be inclined to talking to me. She'll be very interested in me because she sees me as someone who can add value. Everybody goes out looking for somebody to add value to them. So I'll give you another example. I was traveling once from Port Harcourt to Warri to Benin, and I was in the bus, a public vehicle, and I sat behind, and there was this lady seated close to me. I wanted to strike a conversation with her, but she was playing music and had her ears blocked, her earphone. So when we kicked off the conversation, I tried, striking a call. She gave me a blunt answer. She looked at me and, so I said, oh, fine. I was
like, who's this man?
So after a while, I tried again. She gave me the same. So at that point, and that's something you also need to understand when to pull away, because a lot of people are passing through stuff. So it might not be the right time as well. You need to really understand the circumstances around. So I just kept to myself. So by the time we got to Warri, the vehicle stopped and we were to get food, So I got food and I saw she was trying to buy something and it seemed like her money wasn't enough or something. So I offered to pay for her. Obviously,
very sweet.
She got into the conversation, and so when we got back into the bus, so she started asking, "Oh, you wanted to talk?" And I'm like, "Oh, I thought you were busy," So I had to pull that string, and I thought you were busy. So you're like, "Oh no, that I shouldn't bother," things like that. That she's not like that. It was because, oh, that's fine. But
that brings me to this, because now for some men, especially in this part of the world, they feel like, "Oh, I can get any lady I want to get with my money," just like you just did right now. Paying for that particular stuff for her actually caught her attention. So do you think money has a role?
No. So the thing is, if I didn't have the money to pay for her, I probably would have found a way to also reach out. And mark you, the motive for paying is not necessarily to get her. It was just to look for a common ground to have a conversation.
Sure.
So we must understand that, because I know a lot of times people try to, for lack of better, if there's anyone like that, commoditize women, and that is not what I'm talking about.
But some ladies are of the opinion that, because, there are some ladies that feel like, I think for him to want to woo me, he should spend on me first. Let me see how much he's interested in me.
There are ladies like that, but then if you engage that kind of lady from the place of value, she will drop that notion.
Okay.
It's about how you engage the person, right?
Okay.
So let me continue with this example. Remember, when I paid for the meal, I wasn't paying for the meal because I really wanted I wasn't trying to show that I have the money. That is not it. As a matter of fact, what I paid for was less than 1,000 naira. So it wasn't like I wanted to impress her from the standpoint of money. No. It was just a means of having a means. So I knew after that she probably would like to talk to me. Yeah. So when we got into the vehicle, the next thing I did was to start talking about career. So what do you do and things like that. I realized that she just graduated. She's looking for a job. Right there in the vehicle, I gave her 3 sites to apply for a job. There is no sensible lady in that situation that will want to talk to you because she now sees that you are adding value to her. So beyond that, then I asked her, so what else do you do? So she said, oh, she is not really doing anything. What would you like to do? Long story short, I wrote a 1-page business plan for her. Within that, then we also sort of had a cost estimate to the business plan. How much is it going to cost you?
Wow, you do know how to go, lady.
It was going to cost her like 100K. Okay. So I asked her, so who do you know can give you 100? I said, give me 10 people that can give you 10,000 naira each. And that's 100K. So we started with her dad, her mom. We listed everybody. That's fine. So we did all of those things. And long story short, today she's into that. She's selling bags. I bought bags from her, 2 bags. Wow. Nice bags from her. So she sells from the comfort of her house. She uses her social media platform and things like that. Yeah. Today we are friends. And one of the things you must also understand about communication is also about adding value to people. You must understand that communication is about adding value. If I converse with you and you are not adding value to me, then
there's no need for the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's about adding value to people. So like I said, you want to look for cues. You want to converse from the standpoint of adding value, right, to people. That is very, very key. Yeah. Well, talking about how I wooed my wife and things like that. Now, that's one I really don't want to go into because...
Okay, so... have ideas.
How do I even start? So for her, it's a bit different though, because she's someone I've always known, right? Even though I never thought that we'd be married.
Really?
Yeah, we're friends. You could be friends with people, but you never see them from that standpoint. So we're someone who were just friends and things like that. But the only thing I knew is the fact that I like to think that I'm a good talker. So I like to talk people into value, talk people into betterment. You know what not necessarily getting what I want, right? There's a way I will approach you. You realize that at the end of the day, you are the one to give me your number.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like that. So for her, it was a case of take a very good look at me. Take this opportunity or you miss it forever.
Oh, that's the pride of the man.
So it was more like that. But I think one of the beautiful things I did was when I was to propose to her, so we're flying from Warri to Lagos. Okay. And I got the ring. Interestingly, the ring was in her bag. So first we're on vacation. So we went to Calabar. We did Obudu. We did Sinapa and thereabout. All the while we were traveling, the ring was in her bag and she didn't know. Her own bag. How? Like she was literally carrying her bag all the way. And the ring was just right. I kept it right. I knew there was no way she was going to... If I had it in my bag, she probably would figure out. I just left it in her bag. So when we got on plane, before the plane, took off, I just walked up to... I pretended as though I wanted to go and ease myself. I walked up to one of the air hostess and I said, hey, this is my plan. You know how ladies come? She almost blew up my plan. She was like, yeah, calm down, not down. So when do you need it? Is it now or when we are airborne? In my mind, I was like, not you that they proposed to now. Calm down. What's So she was so excited. She called her colleague. So I said, when we are airborne. She said, okay, fine. So how do you want it? Do you want to use the PA system? I said, yes, I want to use the PA system. So she, I know what to do. So when we were airborne, we were all relaxed. So she just walked up and said, hey. So she was not talking because we were seated together by the aisle. And she said, I think I know you from somewhere. Like, did you go to some school? He said, no. She said, can I have a word with you? So she looked at me like, no, why not go? So she took her to the front seat where there was an open space. So she sat down there. Then she told her she was coming. Then she walked all the way down the aisle and just walked past me and said, it's your time, it's your show.
Okay.
So I got up. Then I went for, already she had taught me how to use the PA system and things like that. So I picked up the PA system. And she was wondering, like, what's happening here? So I just told them, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to take a bit of your time, but I really want to do this and I want to share this special moment. I went all the way, brought the ring.
Aww.
On board was a professional camera guy. Ooh. Who knew what he was doing. Really? If I mention his name now,
so
you will know.
You still have a video of it till now?
The guy just opened up the overhead locker, brought his camera, and captured every moment.
Whoa.
And that wasn't planned.
Whoa.
So I popped the question. And of course, there were a lot of foreigners on the plane, and one white guy, because everywhere went cold and people were trying to understand what's going on. The white guy just said, "It's a bad idea, don't do it." So the whole plane went agog. Everybody laughed, and of course, yeah. If she had said no, I just told the pilot, "Please stop. Somebody wants to come down." I opened the window, so it was a strategic decision. I opened the, please, somebody wants, somebody, I just pilot, somebody is stopping in Oguna Valley. She wants to come down. She will come down from, she's going to fly, I don't know. But it was amazing, and, we got that, we're the last set of people, they didn't allow us come down. The whole airline officials came down celebrating, took pictures, the pilot came down, took pictures, and so again, you just have to be very, very engaging in how you need to be interesting. That's the message.
Sometimes love kicks in like anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
For example, let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working in the same space with you. We're colleagues, but you don't know how to approach me maybe because of the fact that I am the manager of the company, and you're working underneath me, and you find me really interesting, and you feel like, okay, this is the kind of lady that I really want to spend the rest of my life with, and I feel like, oh yes, she can fit into the category of wife material, as Nigerians put it, that I want. What will you do in such situations?
So what you're saying is, let me flip it this way. You're referring to wooing your boss.
Your boss, put it that way.
Let me see, you don't get another work. That means
you know how you see, how you should have this thing, like when you see some people, you're really, really attracted to this person, but you're looking at the person's position and you feel like, how can I do this? How would this person look at me?
So interestingly, I've been in that kind of situation before.
Okay.
And so what I then did was to first understand the person outside of work. Because a lot of times, female bosses, and with huge apologies, a lot of times people put on persona that does not really reflect who they are in the workplace, right? Okay. So you want to be able to
navigate through that.
Separate that, just break it, right? Try to understand this person for who this person is outside of work and who this person at work. That is one. Secondly, I think you must be very intelligent.
Okay.
You have to, because you know how they say intelligence is sexy, right? Mm-hmm. You must be very intelligent.
Really.
And you must be hardworking. So you must be someone who delivers at work, because the image the person have of you is your work relationship. So how exactly are you doing in a place of work? That's very key. Mm-hmm. Then once you are done with that, the next thing you then want to do is to begin to explore informal grounds where maybe there is a office dinner or something, and you could really picture your boss outside of work, right? That is one. Then beyond that is to probably develop genuine interest in helping your boss. So if I understand that, for instance, that my boss is trying to execute a project outside of work and is having issues with it, all I can do is to begin to look for ways to help her unlock that value. If I can help her solve that problem, she probably will be interested in what I do outside of work, because I'm beginning to add value to her outside of work. Yeah. Then that begins to create opportunity. But then the most important thing is timing. You must know when to spill the beans and when not to, because if you get it wrong, you probably would get a very wrong outcome. So you want to be very, very sure. And there are people who you need to also understand people's work ethics. There are people who would tell you, I can't have anything to do with anyone in the workplace. For people like that, you also want to be sure how you approach it, because then that becomes a deal breaker, right, for you. So it's basically that way. Okay,
so you've actually listed out, I think, 3 to 4 points right now.
I think there are more than that, actually. But the other part I also want to talk about, it's when you're now in a close circle with someone. We've talked a lot around somebody you've not met before now, somebody much higher than you in the workplace. In a close circle with someone is also one where, you probably you attend the same church, or you do a lot of things together, or you probably have family friends. And things like that. So there are also ways, again, to go around it. It's to understand what makes the person's value. If I understand your value, I basically will just position myself right in front of you. That is what it is. So if I have a conversation with you for 5 minutes, I can tell what drives you as a person. I can tell if you're someone who is very inclined religiously. I can tell the kind of books you read. I can tell the kind of places you go to. Yeah. And if I know that, it's very simple. For instance, if I see you as someone who likes to attend church services and things like, well, I'm having a conversation with that, I will just say, you know what, I'm having headache. I'll be like, what happened? I attended night vigil last night. I'm sure you're gonna be interested. For those watching, everybody within the studio is laughing. I'm sure you're gonna be interested. Then I can go like, I think I have a service by 5 to catch. I need to. Then if I see you're someone who is very family inclined, I could tell you I'm paying my mom a visit this weekend.
Oh,
you know, just so what I try to position myself, you know, in strategically, so that you begin to picture me as someone who sort of exhibit the kind of value that you want, and you can begin to. So that's one angle. The other angle is the fact that when you also want to get serious with someone, you must realize that you must date beyond that person. You must date everything around that person. And that talks about the family, the siblings. I once met a lady and I said, she was giving me some question, and I said, then at some point she said her parent, I said, do you know if I meet your mom will be the one on my case, on my behalf? And she was like, her mom is I said, I'm telling you the truth. So she refused. One day, she just told me, okay, let's go. Without me knowing, I didn't prepare. I was seeing her off and I said, okay, let's get home and see my mom. I said, oh, fine. I said, by the way, I wasn't taught that way. You're going to give me a minute. So I stopped by and I bought a bottle of wine. So I walked into the house, sat down, spoke with the dad, we spoke about politics. I handed over the wine to her. Then I started talking to the mom.
Okay.
You know, for the first 30 minutes of that conversation, it wasn't like I came to see her. You get what I mean?
It just came like you were visiting
a friend. By the time I was done, within the next 2 weeks, the mom started calling, where's Ben? I've not seen Ben. What's happening? You know, and that happened across with our siblings as well. So you must be able to, beyond the individual, be able to. There was a lady I went to see as well, and I told her, I wanted to. She was like, mom is a lawyer. When I got in, luckily for me, it was the mom who was in the sitting room. I sat down with her. I'd spoken to the mom for the first 20, 30 minutes before she really said, aren't you going to ask after your friend? So all the while we're having a conversation, she didn't know that her daughter was peeping because she was wondering, what is this interesting conversation between this guy and my mom? What's happening here? So by the time I was done, it was the mom too that was asking after me. So for that kind of person, it will be very difficult for her to say no. Why? Because you've gotten everybody within the family to like you, right? But beyond that is also the fact that you must be someone who is also very visionary. I'll tell you something I know. Ladies know people who will do well in life. I think it's a gift that God has given them, but they might not know how. But they can tell, when they see you, they can tell your future.
Yeah.
It's just that they can't tell you this is how it's going to happen, this is when. And that's why you notice if you go visit a lady, all her siblings or her friends will come and sit down and be watching you. They won't talk to you. They're looking at your destiny. They're looking at what you want to become in life. When you are done and you've gone, they will not sit her down and not debrief her and say, you see that guy? You have not started. But at the same time, if they see that you're, nice guy who have a sense of direction, ladies love somebody with a sense of direction, clarity. Because for them as well, they have a lot of things in their head and they are looking for somebody to direct them. So if you're someone who is self-motivated, self-driven, ladies will naturally gravitate towards you. Yeah, so it begins with you as a person as well, right? Your personal brand. And of course, you want to look good, as much as possible.
And smell nice, most importantly.
And smell nice. Hygiene is also very, but all said and done, it doesn't mean that you won't have a case where you walk up to a lady and the person would genuinely do not like you. It's not like the person hates you. This is how I put it. Rejection is not a sign of unworthiness, right? The fact that somebody rejected doesn't mean that then you begin to look down or cast down aspersion on yourself and begin, it's more of saying, maybe the person just doesn't like your physique or your person or something, right? Yeah. And it doesn't mean that can change as well. If you work on it, I can tell you it can change. But then don't take it to heart because everybody knows what they want anyway. So a lady has the right to also decide the kind of person he or she really wants. For me, this is how I approach it. If I walk up to you and you say no, it's because you've not given me enough time to show who I am. If I show you who I am, or I've not taken enough time to study, if I study you, I will know the right button to press. I'll know where to go to. I'll know what to do to get you in the right
way. You just said something right now. You said study.
Yes.
So wait, for some people, let's say, for example, now you're in a school environment. Mm-hmm. How would you study? Maybe the person is not even in your department. The lady in particular is not in your department. You don't know her from anywhere, but you just feel like, oh, she's an attractive young lady, and you want to know this person, and you want to get to know this person. How are you going to go about it?
So the first thing is to be friends with that person, right? Because the fact that the person is beautiful and you're attracted, it might not necessarily mean that the person shares the same value with you. So you want to be in close space with that person to really understand who the person is.
You just mentioned something about walking up to a lady and talking to them. Sometimes they will not give you the audience for that.
So it happens. It has happened to me. But what I then do is, most times, it doesn't happen. But a few times I've experienced it. But what I then do is, I take my time to now really study the person. If I study the person, then I know what there's to do. I'll give another example. I was in school, and we're doing overnight reading. Go to school to read. And there was this lady. I've not spoke to her before. And I was just looking at her like, okay. Mm-hmm. Then I had my TD sheets that we're using to do our technical drawing assignment. So she was seated and I realized that she was seated in a very attractive position. I just did a sketch of her. That was all I did. Unknown to her, I sketched her and everything. Then by the time I was done reading, I had a little nap. I raised up my head in the morning. She was gone. So I didn't see her. So I was like, okay, I just kept it till you. When I now figured out where she was staying, I just walked up to her house and I handed it over to her. She was blown away. We were like, wait, the fact that she didn't know when it was sketched. So she was like, when did you? She called everybody in her lodge. She said, come and see someone who has sketched me, and the sketch even looked much more beautiful than she was. Now, two things happened to me. Number one, I didn't only get her number, we became very good friends. Mm-hmm. I ended up not dating her. Not because I didn't want to, but I realized over time that there were things that I felt like she was better off as a friend than having, so a platonic relationship was going to be it, having anything that has to do with romantic or whatever with her. So, but then I left that lodge with a deal to sketch 3 other people, and they paid up front.
Whoa.
So you also want to apply your skills as well. What talents, what skills do you have? There are people who are very good with dress sense. Yeah. You want to advise her, you might want to help her, but that's tricky anyway, because going to tell a lady that she didn't dress very well. Oh my God. You need to be very careful. But then it's about, you just have to look for ways, interesting ways to connect with the person. And it's really easy depending on how, and maybe you want to practice as well. Okay.
So what is your last words to the shy guys? Because, a young man right now, he has what it takes to lead. But he'll be feeling, I'm shy. I don't want to feel embarrassed in front of this young
ladies. Yeah.
So what's your last words to them?
I think the one that really cuts me is when you propose to a lady and she says no.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of video in my mind. Like, there was one I saw. The guy was still kneeling down. Even when the girl left, I'm like, will you just stand up? You didn't do your JHA. Do you know what they call JHA? Job hazard analysis. For every job you want to go for, you want to do the hazard analysis. The truth of the matter is, again, I keep saying you must study. Study the person, try to... So let me give you an example. I once wooed a Muslim girl before in school. This was someone who... I'm a Christian. She's a Muslim. We've never had any conversation. Do you know what I did? That day, that was when I knew that, man, Muslim girls can be very beautiful. A lot of times they wear their hijab and all you see is just here. So that day she was wearing a short hijab. So I could see her hand from her elbow to her fingers. If you see her skin. I was reading. I couldn't concentrate. I told my roommates, I said, Sherry, do you know what's happening to me right now? This book not the answer. What's happening? Do you see the girl seated across? I just said, watch me. I just picked up my stool, went to her and I said, Salam alaikum. She said, Malaikum salam. We started talking. She asked my name. I said, my name is Abdulaziz. That was it. For real. This thing I'm telling you, that was it. But then... No, hold on. Just watch me. Okay. Remember I told you that you have to study. I have a lot of Muslim friends. I also realized that one of the things that Muslims don't like is visits. Okay. So what I then immediately do, after I had gotten her interest and we got talking, I told her, I said, look, sincerely, I am not a Muslim and my name is not Abdulaziz. Okay. My name is Ben. That even got her more interested. The fact that she couldn't figure out that I'm not a Muslim and my name is not Abdulaziz, despite the fact that we were in the same class.
Yeah.
Do you know every time I'm broke in school, that girl brings food for me?
Oh, bye.
Every time I'm broke. So there was a time I told her I thought I want to go to the mosque with her just to see what happens in the mosque. So the other part again is you also want to show that you're a very tolerant person. You don't want to go showing that you have biases and things like that. So, but essentially it's about really studying the person, understanding the center of interest of the person, then making the conversation about that person, and and you want to be a little bit funny. You should be able to crack one or two jokes and just get people on the light side.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you for being on the show today. And
thank you very much, and thank you for exposing me. You introduced me, or I got myself introduced as someone who's organization culture strategist. I don't know the correlation between all of those and how to woo a lady.
Okay.
Anybody that listens to this, please, that was not me.
Okay, so for the guys, I am so sure right now that you know how to practically, at least you have like 1 or 2 tricks right now to know how to woo that particular lady that you are attracted to. Please join us next time.
And sorry, let me quickly say this before you. Please, don't go and learn any punchline online. I'm going to use it for a lady. Especially if it's a punchline that she has heard before. Your strategy is dead on arrival. So you want to be sure that you're original about your conversations, right? You want to be sure that and please don't flatter people.
Okay.
Yeah, if the person is beautiful, it's beautiful. If it's not beautiful, don't flatter people, because the person you're talking to knows. If you flatter them, they'll pick holes with you. Don't flatter people. Be very genuine. Have a straight conversation, and just make it interesting.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've heard it from Mr. Ben Apute. Please join us next week on the Abeko Conversation. I am Inkirubi, and I am signing out.